Hey, everybody, welcome to Conversations in Ken's Cafe. We have a special guest, Daniel Lirette, today from the GrowDocApp. Now, Daniel, we've had you on a couple of times before, but just give us a brief recap on what you're doing and what the GrowDocApp actually is.
Yeah, thank you, Ken, for the intro. So what we're doing is we're a mobile app that helps you diagnose what's wrong with your unhealthy plant. So whether you've got a yellow leaf or there's white little dots on your leaves, that sort of thing, we're using AI, and that's all backed by research from universities and research colleges in order to help you to make a diagnosis. So the AI kind of is trained. We classify each different thing, and then the AI knows how to diagnose what's your problem, and then it lets you compare and see visually. Oh, I've got yellow leaves, and this is the same pattern. Yeah, I must have a nitrogen, or it looks like thrips insects that I have. We'll let you make that comparison, and helps you figure out what to do to solve your problems.
Okay, so you moved into insects as well, because I think before you were mainly on the nutrients. And what the lack of nutrients was doing. Have you you mentioned thrips? Have you moved into that as well now?
Yeah, I mean that's always been a part of what we've had. I mean, thrips
Okay.
is one that we were growing at home, and we had thrips, so we were able to collect 6,000 pictures, and that was just
Okay.
our head start, and that was a while back. But recently, we've been able to collect more, spider mites, aphids, and the most common ones for cannabis pests, especially indoor. But yeah, the majority of our studies that we've done with Niagara College specifically, those have all been on nutritional deficiencies, and yeah, at
Mhm.
this point, we've pretty much touched almost all of them. So we're just kind of tallying it up the remainder, and all those are available on our app.
Oh, and that's fantastic because a large part of growing cannabis is you know catching up on those deficiencies even before you can really see them, and by taking a picture, the AI is being able to pick out the minute details of what's going on. Now, you mentioned Niagara College. I believe you've worked with a bunch of other colleges as well. Is that not correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we worked with a lot of them in New Brunswick, where I'm from. So
Mhm.
the more of the New Brunswick Community College, and then we've worked as well with the University of Moncton, and we're working with Colorado State University.
Oh, fantastic. I know we had Tom Landry on earlier with Dr. Av singing Leighton Morrison showing off his horizontal system. And he was
Wow.
mentioning that you guys are from the same hometown.
Yes, we are. Yeah, same area. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's fantastic. I always talk about caring, sharing, and community, and this is a real community effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think well, now I'm living in the Niagara region, but before I was probably like 15 minutes away from him, so.
Oh, cool, cool. So tell us a little bit more about some of the different deficiencies that you have got it dialed into, because I know like the university, they were stripping out the
Mm.
specific nutrients so that they could generate the look on the leaves, etc. So what basic nutrients are we looking at for being able to track?
Yeah, so specifically the top six, the most common ones from nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. So those are ones that we've done on multiple occasions at Niagara. They've been done at Community College of New Brunswick, CCMB in Grand
Mhm.
Falls. So it's been repeated. So the AI has been trained on multiple different, especially cultivars. This is never the same strains that are grown in each place. So that's been different. But yeah, it's well trained specifically on magnesium. Those are detecting at about a 99% rate. They were just Niagara College does these things, and I can talk about this one now because the students have figured it out. But it's the mystery deficiency, they call it. So you have to
Okay.
guess. The teachers will induce a deficiency in the plant, and then they'll
Hmm.
let the students figure it out and remediate it. So they had magnesium again, and that's where it was perfect for us because I was there with the phone. I was testing it out, and every picture it got it correctly. So yeah, it's spotting it out, it's seeing the trend, and the same with phosphorus as well. As soon as the brown spots kind of start popping up, it's very high in accuracy in detecting those.
Oh, and you got to love that, because the earlier that you can detect it, the quicker you can do something to solve the problem. And that's also part of your app as well, is you're giving people the different methods that they can put, say, the phosphorus into their system. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, our app is filled with information on how to diagnose the problem. Let's say you have phosphorus, and it always starts off with basically the checklist.
Hmm.
Because if we had a Dr. Av here and all of these guys, it's not throw in some phosphorus right away. It's okay. Is everything dialed in? Is your environment good? Is your nutrient mix good? Is it a lockout? Is something else causing that phosphorus issue? But
Right.
specifically for calcium and magnesium, for example, those ones, it's really in terms of temperature and humidity. Magnesium under 18 degrees Celsius at your root zone will start locking out, and then calcium that is in terms of humidity percentage. So not having the right environment can cause deficiencies where it's like adding that CalMag does not help. It's you need to
Hmm.
fix your environment. So those are all detailed on our app, which you can look through, and that's kind of there to guide you through, so you're not just dumping stuff in like I was mentioning.
Well, and like Silly Lily, or it's my co-producer. Good to see the advancements made in this app, and it's those advancements that we want to really talk about today. So, what advancements since the last time you were on, which is probably 4 or 5, 6 months ago, have you made?
Yeah, it's for us it's the continuation of the improving the AI model. So
Okay.
right now we live test models as they go, so it might not seem like progression. And for us, normally it's a few weeks for sure by the time we're testing the model. So normally models can take a couple of months to kind of take
Mhm.
to it's a constant training and invalidation. So we're testing it, and does it work? Can we do something a little bit better? And we try to change a little bit variables and that sort of thing to see the output. And then it goes, and then it's kind of double diagnosing what people are getting. We see it in our back end, so we're kind of
Right.
looking at how the new model is performing. And then a lot of times, there's certain times right now our newest model is running better on some predictions, but other has a bias towards mutation. And for some reason it's a regular leaf and it says it's a mutation. I'm like, that's not correct. And it does so in certain situation for repetition of 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row, which doesn't make sense. So those are like the key issues with AI that we have to then go look at. Or do we have too much data in that specific classification, or is there something throwing it off? We kind of check out where the key points of where the machine is looking at, and that's kind of like the whole process behind the machine learning and teaching the machine in order to make these predictions. So yeah, in a sense, for us, like we've done a ton of work in the back end. We collected over 3,000 pictures of boron deficiency and toxicity. Those have been added to the AI. So it's a lot of back end work, but it's not. There's not too much in the front end to be shown at this point.
Okay. And it's a lot of that back end work. And how long have you been working on this app?
It's been just over 3 years now.
Mhm.
But 2020 when it kind of started. I mean, at the time there was not much in terms of data. We had no partnership yet with universities or anything like that. So it was basically just a concept. So it took about a year. Well, when we ran into COVID, we had the agreements to start the research before that, but then that delayed everything, and
Yeah.
so that took about a year to kind of start getting data before it was a reliable tool to be used that helps you with the most common problems.
Well, I know that when you were on with John Burfello and Mr. Toad on the OG's Power Hour, John took a picture of the clones he had given out
Mm.
and realized all of a sudden that he had PM, because it was going, well, you've got PM, and he's looking closer and going, oh, damn, I better make a phone call because I've already given some of these clones away. And I think that's one of the things that people don't realize is, our eyes, even though we are trained to
Mm.
look for these things, we can miss them. And having that AI available to go, hey, there's something wrong, I think is a real game changer, especially in a commercial style grow. Have you worked with anybody commercially where you're setting up constant monitoring through cameras or anything?
That's our next. I'm glad you brought that up because that's our next phase. So we're
Cool.
working with Eco Canadian Organics based out of New Brunswick, and essentially that's what I'm going there next week back to my hometown to kind of show them what we've built. So we built the it's more for large scale growers. So it's a whole kind of scouting map where you can put all your plants, and it uses the same AI as the app. So when you scan, you can then tag this to a specific plant or room or that sort of thing. But essentially, we're also building a live feed into your phone. So where you can kind of have the app and it'll scan automatically. So now we can kind of put this, you could have this as a body cam, right? Just moving around and it's going to take pictures every 5 seconds or as it detect movements, that sort of thing. And then we can kind of track those into the facility on where those are happening. So yeah, for large scale producers, that was the thing as well that we've heard a lot of feedback. It's like your app works great, diagnose something, but now I got 4 facilities. Like I need somewhere to put it, right? That was a constant feedback that we were getting. So this was us building that kind of back end platform for them to be able to track these things. I mean, for a regular home grower, if you only had the legal 4 plants, I mean, it's pretty easy to keep track. It's fine. But then if you have thousands of plants or 400 plants in the grow room, I mean, then it's a big number to remember. Oh, it was that one specifically, or this that type deal.
Yeah. Well, I know that a lot of guys, their lights, they're putting cameras in the lights nowadays. Have you looked at tapping into that feed with the AI?
Yeah, we had conversations with a few of them. The only thing that happens with the light, and that's the same as our competitors, is these overhead cameras. There's a lot of missed spots, blind spots that can happen. And I'm sure, as everybody here watching knows, when cannabis, there's a deficiency or something, there's a lot of times it happens at the bottom, not at the top. So those cameras and lightings or cameras in the lights wouldn't be able to detect these things. So this is our key thing is to stay with the phones as much as we can, so that when if you had that phone as a live camera, you could kind of attach it to a cart or somewhere, or as a body cam I was mentioning, and it could spot these things out. And then if you are to see something, then you can kind of use it and point it in the right direction as well. But in a sense, we have the capabilities as well to put in our own cameras if we needed to. But for right now, we're focused on how can we do that on the phone, just because it's easy hardware to work with. There's plenty of phones everywhere, and I could show you how it works on your phone right now, and you could have it running in 5 minutes, rather than me coming and setting a whole camera system, and then there's something that goes wrong. You won't be able to fix this. You got to call me, that sort of thing. So if in our sense, if we can build that platform that is easy to manage for growers themselves, it saves a lot of time for everybody, a lot of headaches, and it's a phone that they've already used in basically their entire life, so it's not challenging to run.
Well, yeah, because everybody's generally got their phone in they're at least in their back pocket when they're going through the grow. So you could actually like have it like on a lanyard, hanging off you while you're walking through the grow. What's the scope? Like you got your wide screen set up for in the phone where it's going to see a greater volume. Like you could walk down the middle of the aisle and see both sides.
Yeah, essentially, it's like where you point. So that's been a thing that we've been working on for the last 6 months. Is originally when we made the app, it was more focused on single leaf diagnosis. So it's like that's what the app was kind of trained on. When it saw magnesium, this is the magnesium leaf. So when you kind of took a picture of a single leaf, it was easy to make that classification compared to a large scale canopy with 1,000 leaves. So that's what we've been working on for the last 6 months, is that 1,000 leaf. So it's like, how can we crop, or it's either it started off with how can we crop these leaves, and then it kind of ended up on where the machine sees more of these specific problems and that sort of thing. So now it's more of the AI spotting out problems, or within that frame of, let's say, 1,000 leaves, where are the problem leaves, and then it will crop those areas and then run the machine learning aspects on there to make a diagnosis. So and at the same time too, spotting this out for you. So you instead of just getting a response, it'll be more of a response with an image and those red boxes, as you've probably seen with like the self-driving cars, where it boxes a car, boxes a person. We're going to do the same thing, but box out phosphorus, box out tip burn, box out the curling, all these types of things.
Okay, fantastic. And the question that was brought up, is this app specific to cannabis only, or does it have an issue in the or a use in the garden or on the farm? And I believe it's cannabis specific, right?
It's cannabis specific. However, we have validated that it does work on other crops. So tomatoes, I mean, phosphorus is a bit different from the research I looked at. It was more purple, but the app seems to favor purple for phosphorus as well. And it worked as well for magnesium. So we saw crops in tomato, cucumbers, green peppers, and even vineyards. So those types of crops, it can work. Yeah, for the deficiencies for sure. And then when we talk about the insects, if the patterns are the same for thrips or spider mites, or you're seeing aphids, it would work for there as well. And same with powdery mildew.
And I think that's a huge advantage for your app, is to be able to recognize damage from a spider mite. I don't think is different from a tomato plant to a cannabis plant to a grape. I think when they chew on a leaf, they chew on a leaf, and that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah. It's nice that the crossover is there. We have looked at, and we've had some conversation with some greenhouses for tomatoes as well. It was surprising, but a lot of them are still scouting on pen and paper. So they're getting people to walk through, and they see something and they're writing down pen and paper. So that was a huge thing for us, because I was like, I thought this was already digitized. I thought they'd be using the top software, but there's no really AI vision is definitely not there in these spaces. It's just starting. So now that we have that cannabis data set and we can cross over, it was working well.
Well, I think that's fantastic, because there is a lot of produce that ends up in a garbage can because something went wrong and nobody noticed it.
Right. Yeah. The story for us that we were hearing is this could be a 4-acre greenhouse, and the guy on the floor sees a problem. He now needs to walk that 4 acres to find the manager in the office to let him know, and then they both then walk to the problem, and then this is spider mites. Okay, now let's go get our sprayer. Let's go get or order some biologicals, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of time that can be cut there just from that grower seeing it, snapping that picture. AI sees for sure it's 99% spider mites. Let's alert with a high alert, and that's kind of the process that we're getting into.
So are you building in an alert system? Say, like I'm a worker, I'm out in the 4-acre canopy, and my phone spots something. It alerts me and my manager, and goes down the line. Have you got that set up yet?
Yeah, the notifications are there, and that's going to be customizable to whatever you see fit. So is it alerting Joe or John or whoever is on there? That's going to be the thing there, where it's whatever you want, whoever you want notified on what issues at what scale, what threshold. Those will be possibilities for you to do.
Well, and that's good. And cheers back, Mad Dog, and Gold Hat Seeds. We'll bring it up. How does the AI update its database?
Oh, so that's an interesting question. So for us, the majority of the time, the AI does not update itself. It's all they call that. There's unsupervised and supervised. So we're doing supervised learning, so that it's a human, someone like me and Kieran, that have been on the field. We've scouted, we've grown thousands of plants so far. And we're at these research facilities to see all these research. So we're actually validating the new pictures that go up in the database. And that's the only way we see being the right way. Right now, it's just too early for the machine to be self-classifying images and potentially being biased to certain issues. So right now, that's kind of the process. The machine, and then for new data that comes through our scans, that's kind of thing. The machine will make an analysis, and if it's a high percentage, then we are going to look at it, review it, and if it looks credible, then it gets passed on into that classification of whatever that problem would be. So that's kind of the approach to the constant updating of the database, in terms of, you either do the research or you use the scans that are coming in, and with high AI confidence and a human with high confidence, then it gets classified.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways, because like I know a lot of people are using AI to write stories and stuff like that, and they're finding that if they're not really reading it and going through it, then it's making mistakes that a human wouldn't make. And that's where you guys have to have your eyes on the problem to confirm that yes, this is that problem. So when the AI sees something new, when does it alert you that it's found something new, and how many images does it have to see to say, okay, this is something different? Daniel, here, take a look at this.
So right now it doesn't necessarily work like that in terms of. No one ever watched Terminator. That's a good question. Right now there's no types of alert. It's trying to classify within its database that it has.
Okay.
So just it is limited in what it knows. So it will make a classification like that. And then since we've added healthy, it is focused sometimes on healthy, or sometimes it'll go towards, we have a model called not a plant. So if you're scanning your foot, it's not going to say any results. So that model kind of triggers it in, and that's kind of us working collectively to kind of make those, we call them AI stacks, because it's multiple models running together to kind of check these things, and then that's kind of the approach to reducing the false positives. And then as they come in, we're reviewing the scans, and then we make an analysis in there, and then we make some corrections today. Just today I was looking at some scans, and I was saying I spotted out that mutation biasy, and then I sent that off to the AI guy, and I was like, look, something's going on here. So he's going to now take those images, run them, and see why it's kind of answering there, check what's the top 3 classifications, and then there's things called like GrowDocApp, where it shows you a heat map of where the AI is looking. Because I know in the past we had some images from research that had like the pot of the plant, and then for a reason or another, the AI was like, "Hey, we're gonna focus on this, not the leaves. We're focusing just on the pot," and that kind of threw off the model. So those are things that you kind of assess and see in real time, and then you just make those changes to make the AI better.
Well, and that's something that you need to do now. Once the AI has learned that it's different, does it remember that, or does it keep having a problem in the future? Could it explain a little bit more on that?
No, it does. Once we train it with a new piece, or we make modification, it does remember that, and then that's in a sense that as you continue on, there's things called like reinforcement learning. And then sorry, I'm getting distracted with the question. I probably shouldn't read them unless you pull them up. So I'll continue on. So yeah, that's a sense. It's just us continuously monitoring the AI version that we have, how it's diagnosing app scans right now, and then as soon as we have a new model, we add that in to compare how is it running against the old model, and then we do a series of tests in there to see if and how it is performing better. And then if it is, then we deploy that and we keep watching it, and then we make while we make a new model, then we deploy it and we continue that strategy. So right now, in terms of we run into a biases like we just did with the mutation, that model goes back to the working table, and then we need to check what that problem was. But in a sense, is like we noticed that it was really favorable and better against the last model on other problems. So it's like it's a trade-off sometimes. It was better in some senses and it was worse in others. So it just bring that back to the table, fix it up, and we go back at it.
Okay, and now we'll bring up Ron Harrington's question here. So when AI gets stumped, does it just make shit up, or can it be stumped?
It's not necessarily making shit up. It's going to go to the highest classification, like in terms of percentage that it believes it is. So it'll make a best educated guess. For us, there's no really, I wouldn't say you can actually get stumped. It's going to make it the closest looking classification. So just, think of it looking at birds. If you didn't know every type of bird, you would just say it's bird, and then you would make a guess that it's this one because that's what you remember. The closest thing, and that's kind of how it's going to be. And if the problem wasn't classified, it might misclassify it, or maybe say it's not a problem, that sort of thing. So yeah, our goal is to try to avoid any false positives, so them saying it's something when it's not, and then that's something. It's a constant work in progress.
Yeah, and you might remember, the name of an eagle or a blue jay and not know the name of
Specific,
something else.
yeah.
And that's what it's and that's where you come in when you looking at the data going, well, no, that's not right. So how many different variables are you looking at, or is the AI looking at generally when it takes that image? Like hundreds of thousands, millions?
Millions. Yeah, I'm not sure the exact number, but it's millions of variables. Yeah. And then so how it trains is then it starts changing weights, and then it starts seeing if it's accurate while it's training. So it's like changing certain parameters, and it's figuring out where pixels of interest are. And then when it does that, then it validates. And it's let's say you have 100 pictures. Well, it's going to take 80 to train, and then it's going to take 10 to test, and then 10 to validate. So your test sets, it's like it already knows what it is, but then it's testing out of those 80s. I trained a model out of these 80s, and then I'm going to send a nitrogen picture, and I'm going to validate it against that. Is it coming back as nitrogen? Yes or no? And then if it's a no, then it starts changing weights and variables in order to make better predictions until it says, okay, yeah, it is nitrogen. We're right. And then that's kind of how it keeps learning.
Okay, basically repetition.
That's
what we do when we learn.
Well, yeah, basically, trial and error, but extremely fast. Yeah.
Well, a lot faster than I can walk anyway. So when it says, okay, I've got a calcium deficiency in my plant, walk us through the different recommendations that it's going to give us when we have that diagnosis come out.
Yeah, so that one is where like you would get that checklist and you would start looking through. So first one is your environment, humidity, huge factor to causing calcium deficiencies. Secondly, it's going to tell you, okay, make sure you didn't give an abundance of phosphorus or potassium. Those as well will lock out your calcium. And then it kind of keeps going on until then. If you've gone to those things, then you can you can look at what the solution is, and normally we focus on giving you the organic solutions, and then as well as if it's insects, it's more of the biological controls, and then it goes into more of the sprays and the fungicides, that sort of thing.
Okay, now Ron's asking another question. Often I see a problem, and it could this or it could be that, and I can give it a percentage of certainty. The AI app should give the options.
Yeah. That is a thing that the apps do give a percentage accuracy. That's just not something that we have displayed on the app right now. So in our more of the for large scale growers, we do have that in the back end. It will tell them the percentage of accuracy, and as well as it shows them the square of where that accuracy was detected as well. So just for the home growers, it's more of higher accuracy. Normally, or the threshold is about a 70%. So if it's under 70%, normally we say it's not found. So when the AI is above 70%, that's when it starts singling out that single problem and then says that to you.
Okay, and that's good. So there you've got a minimum percentage where it's going to say, it's probably this.
Yeah. For us, for larger growers, we kind of left it there. They were interested in seeing what the accuracy of the percentage was. In terms for the home growers, we at the time decided not to show it in case it was lower percentage. Let's say you got a 20% accuracy, kind of weird. So we kind of just limited and then decided to show things that were above 70%, which is normally really accurate. So that's kind of our take on it, and that's kind of how we've continued to iterate on. We see it in the back end, and we're kind of working with that, and we're adjusting the new models accordingly, because then we can know if they're not performing well, if they're detecting phosphorus. The new model might be way lower than the other model, and we can see that. Sometimes it's 56% accuracy, and sometimes the other model is 97. So there's something up there. So it helps us use those as well. to get a sense on performance.
Well, yeah, and the better you're trained to look for what you know is right and know is wrong, the more you can train the app to be more accurate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where are you looking at going in the future with the app? Like, I know you have a free version, you have a paid version. What are the difference between the two, and what's a person get upgraded with the paid version of the app?
Yeah, so the free version is limited, and it's like YouTube ads. So basically, as you scan, there's a 20-second wait time that you have to wait until you see your results. That's the thing that's non-existent if you have the premium version. You scan every second. It's quick responses. You have access to the male, female as well, and we have the healthy, not healthy meter, so it can give you a severity rating on the problem that you have. And in terms of data that we have on the app for the premium version, you're not limited to how many pictures you're going to see. So we have normally about 40 pictures of that research that we've done, so you can see it for yourself. From and videos as well. We have infographs, so that's another thing. You're not limited when you have the premium. When you're on the free version, I think we limit to 4 or 5 pictures and that sort of thing.
Now, the paid version, I don't believe, is very expensive. What is the average cost?
The average cost is $6.99 a month or $49.99 a year.
And $50 a year is really, really cheap. And like, I could see this working well for those whose site isn't what it used to be. That Silly Lily brought that up a moment ago, and like, my eyes are getting older. I need glasses, so I could see that this is less strain on my eyes.
Yeah, that could be as well. Yeah.
So, where do we see this going in the future? Like, we've had references, to Terminator and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think we quite have to worry about a termination of our cannabis plants or us right now.
No.
But where do you see this going in the future?
Yeah, that's an interesting take. And through this last year, we've kind of looked at other integrations. So when we focused on building our AI app, the majority is all in this AI brain that we call it. Like, it's our server. So the app, you can think about it, make a phone call, calls the server, sends that picture, and it gets a response back. So now that we have that server, it makes it easier for us to deploy in mobile phones. We could do CCTV cameras. We could partner up with drones. They could send us the pictures via the same type of requests. Or we could even get to, which I didn't know until a few weeks ago, that the Boston Dynamic, that dog robot, the Spot they call it.
Okay, yeah.
I guess it's quite easy to get this API connection in, and use their camera to send pictures to your server. So in a sense, that's not so far away. So I think the industry is not there yet to kind of have a dog walking through the facility scouting, but the possibility is there. So that's something that I know within a few months that we could get running, and we could have a dog walking through a facility with cameras attached to it, diagnosing in real time. So that's kind of where it's heading to. Another one for outdoor grows will be, I think there will be a lot of drones running around. I've talked to a few drone companies in the last few months, and they're kind of using models that are out there already. I think it's like a pay per subscription, and they're kind of monitoring pixels. So as they fly at 100 feet, they'll see some brown pixels, and they're like, there's some unhealthy plants here, type of deal. So that's kind of the progress of drones at the moment. But it's like in the future, it's like those drones are going to spot those problems, and now they're calling people to go check it, but later on the drones will just get closer, and with a data set like what we're building, is then they'll be able to make that magnesium diagnosis on the field, on the spot, and someone could show up with the right remedy for whatever problem they found specifically. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm seeing, and I think there's going to be a lot more of AI trend coming up in terms of vision, in terms of things that are really big on data collection. It was easier for ChatGPT, the OpenAI, to kind of make that because the data set is already on the internet, right? It's already there to be trained. When you're talking about labeling specific things like we're doing, specific problems in cultivation, or other use cases. That's the thing in the future that is going to come. And then same with the Apple Pro headset. That to me, I was like, wow, like it was already a thing on my mind that existed, but like they're making it more and more realistic now, where it's like, as a grower, you could pop that headset on and there's cameras on there. Like the AI can be in real time spotting it out, and you could see those squares, spotting out early stages of where it thinks that, it could be spider mites, for example. And then you could really check it out and be like, oh yeah, it was that, So that's, where I see the future coming in those types of things. The vision and robotics and drones and that sort of thing, things that will help us cultivate more without using so much manpower.
Well, and I think that's like there's a lot of cannabis businesses that aren't making it because of the cost of labor, and this basically is going to take out part of that cost, where instead of having somebody all day walking the rows looking, you can run the drone over, or low enough where it's causing enough disturbance where the leaf is coming up so it can see down. Do you think that's something, or is it going to be more of just a fly high overhead, see bad spots in an open field, or is it going to need to be more like the dog on the ground looking up to be able to see the problem areas?
For me, what I'm seeing, the dog on the ground will be more of greenhouses, facilities. Drones will be more reserved for outdoors. And that just makes more sense that the drones can cover way more than the dog can. And then, the drones will just have to get close enough, probably at about, maybe 10 feet, something like that, in order to get more of a high quality visual of leaves, so that we can make an analysis, and that would be good enough. They just need to know where those problems areas are from flying real high, and then they can target those afterwards with their like passovers.
Now, would it have to come down low enough where its prop wash is going to be moving the leaves so it can look down in, or is it going to be able to stay high enough where it's not going to, say, a flower and cannabis plant? You don't want to be blasting that plant, right?
Yeah. To my knowledge, and I've got someone who's testing it out right now. He was going to use his drone on the weekend to see how far he needed to get, and I shared pictures of, this is like a good picture that we could use.
Cool.
So he thought between 10 and 30 feet would be plenty enough, and for him, that was not a spot where the wind is really going to push the plants, that sort of thing. It's still far enough.
Yeah. So, but like in veg, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, when you're in flower, you don't want those trichomes being buffeted by that much of a air movement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But then, is it just as bad, having a rainstorm come through and the water hitting the leaf, and there's a lot of energy there for, a storm bringing through wind, is it going to be that much of a difference if you're on an outside grow anyway?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, Daniel, where do you think that, in a year's time, do you think the price is going to be going up or down for what you're offering? Or are you just going to keep it at a reasonable price, just expand the plants and the crops that you're able to use the app on?
So the app itself, there's no plans right now to really do massive hikes on the price. It's pretty set, and I think that's a pretty fair price for the moment. But as the app gets a lot better, in a few years, if it's very accurate on the 99% of problems, then it might make sense for it to be a little bit more expensive. But for the time being, our focus is more on continuing to develop that AI model that can make those predictions with high accuracy. And when we're talking with other crops, that's something that we're more adding to our for producers, that sort of thing. That's not going to be any relation to the app. And the app itself, we continue to iterate on the machine learning that we use for the large producers, so it always impacts the app as well. So the app is always getting better, just as well as the large producers. So it's great for us because we have that redundancy that we don't have to replicate all the time and have different thing all the time. So we're focusing on that single one that serves all the purposes.
Well, and I think that's being able to focus like that is really putting you in an advantage, over trying to do too much at once. You're focused on one thing, and you can really, put the money and the effort into that one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I know, I think my co-producer had brought it up, but they can find it just by going to the GrowDoc.ca. Now, this is global, of course, correct?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are some countries like Russia and I think maybe China and Brazil. Maybe I'm not sure. Not Brazil. No, maybe China and just Russia. They took it down on the App Store.
Okay.
But I mean, everybody else, you're good to go. Yeah, and then in that case too, we've always tried to be as generic as we can. We've always known that there is a lot of privacy concerns in terms of cannabis, whether you're in a legal state or not, or legal country or not. We might not want people to find out. So that's why we on our .ca there's the web app that we call it that you can use, so you can take a picture on your phone or your old camera and upload it to your computer and put it on .ca as well. And that's something that you can do with your VPN or anything you want to remain private. And then we're not tracking anything from there. So that's something that we've always had in terms of, even if the app didn't work, well, there's always an alternative for you to go to that website and just upload it there. Even that website even works on your phone. So if you didn't want to download the app and just use the website on your phone and upload the picture from your phone, that works as well. So whatever way you see best fit, then you can use the website for privacy use.
Well, yeah, because there are still a lot of countries out there where anything cannabis is still highly illegal, and we don't want to get anybody into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
By using it, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we always are talking about is caring, sharing, and community, and bringing the community together to help change laws in other countries. And this is, I think, going to help a lot of people move to that next level of understanding, because it's not just about the cannabis plant now you're doing a bunch of other plants, so people go, well, it's for my tomatoes. I'm not growing cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you got a list of plants on your website that it's working with, or is it just?
No, this is still relatively new to us. Adding on these plants. Our entire database, and that was our core focus to get cannabis, and we've kind of tackled that. Now I think that the biggest one is for the cannabis space going to be hop latent viroid. So that's one that Niagara College as well is really interested in. They had done a webinar a little bit ago with Dr. Zamir Punja. So he's a very well-respected researcher from Simon Fraser. He's done a ton of research on cannabis pathogens, viruses, that sort of thing. So that's one that we're excited to kind of get added on to our AI. It's one that's causing a lot of problems in the industry, and as people we've talked to, they mentioned it's like pretty much everywhere in every facility. People just don't know it yet. So they were saying it's more like you're 26%. Next grow is going to be 19, and the next one's 16. And then when you get to 19, you start figuring out there's something wrong because it's the same cultivar and same style. So that sort of thing. So that's going to be one for us that if we can have that early detection or some sort of detection that indicates that you should test this plant. It's going to be really useful for the growers to have in their place. We were talking to some growers that were testing every single plant in the facility for hop latent viroid. So, that's a huge issue
and a huge cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can actually detect it that little bit earlier, and a person knows, and then they can watch the plant, for trichome production at the end, because some cultivars it's holding it back long enough for you to finish out the grow cycle. But is it still affecting, trichome production? Is that something that we really don't know yet?
Well, they call it dudding, so it does affect the trichomes and reduces THC. But I think the huge thing from that webinar that they did is they found that it can actually be passed through water. This viroid. So let's say you're watering your crops. A lot of people, the water feed will come through and touch a bunch of other roots of plants. So at that point, it's kind of early detection, early elimination. Really is that cycle that you want to get into. Because if that was to you had one plant and all of a sudden you did watering and the water spread to the roots of the other plants, now a whole row has hop latent viroids, and then somebody takes cuttings and they don't wash the scissors and they're on the next row, and all of a sudden it's in your entire facility. So yeah, it's one that's really like kind of crazy and taking the industry by storm. So we'll see how things go in the next few years.
Well, I know, it's affecting the hops, it's affecting the hemp, it's affecting all these different things around the world, not just in the cannabis side, but I believe other plants as well. And they've basically learned to basically live with it. I'm hoping that, the cannabis growers, how much into science and et cetera that we can actually find something that, we don't just have to live with this. We can actually, come up with ways to mitigate it or even beat it in the end.
Yeah. I think that definitely the cannabis space is bringing a ton of technology, biotech, like everything is being pushed to an extent because of the cannabis space. Because in a sense, like I'm not sure I would have started this with the knowledge I had about tomatoes. I just thought this would already exist. They would already have this. So, in a sense, it's like this started because of cannabis, and a lot of them are trying to, make kind of gene edit the plants and the cultivars in order to, maybe not have it not susceptible to hop latent or that sort of thing, But there's viruses that exist in all plants, really. I was talking to some tomato growers, and they were saying that there's I think this is the beefsteak virus or the ringus virus. And once that comes in, it's like 1 week, it kills all the plants.
Ouch.
So yeah, it's a real ouch. So, I mean, those exist. And now, there's a lot of Dutch companies are trying to have, strains and cultivars that are resistant to that sort of thing. So I think that's probably going to happen. It's just a matter of time, I guess, and research to be put into to figure these things out.
Well, I know that somebody was talking about how there are some strains that will hold it down in the root zone longer, and the grow can actually finish out without it actually showing an effect in the bud. But I've only heard that a couple of times, so I'm not sure how far
I
along
haven't
that
heard that
research
one,
is.
to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, it was all dudding. It was just a loss of THC, and even the terpenes and the cannabinoids were all at a decrease.
Yeah. Well, I think this is how the hemp industry is dealing with it. Is their cultivar grows to the point where it's at harvest before it really starts affecting, the end product of the plant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hemp. I know that there's some places are still limited on THC, so they're harvesting really early, so that sort of thing. So that with them, that might not be a devastating issue at all.
Yeah. Well, and every industry has its I don't know, the Trojan Horse, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's just finding the ones that we can get around, the having the blunt effect of to take us down. And I think that's going to end up is what's going to happen with hops Leighton. But definitely early detection in a field is going to matter more and more moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got several partners. You've got a lot of people that are watching the screens and watching the pictures. Are you passing them back out to the university students that were doing some of this work early on to see if they can keep up with what the AI is learning?
No, I mean, a lot of them kind of go out in the industry, so we kind of lose contact with them. But yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that. I had kind of a project in mind where it was, maybe launch an insect or something. We don't tell the person what it is, and then it's them against the AI. The AI runs and that sort of thing. So it tested who can detect it first and who can figure out what the problem is first. I mean, we were kind of already doing that with the mystery game at Niagara College.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure it out first. In a sense, I was looking for those early symptoms, and then from there, the app can diagnose it as well if it's one of those ones that we've categorized.
I think that would be actually kind of interesting is to have that challenge go out to see if these guys can actually beat the AI. I think there's a lot of people that would like to take that challenge and maybe, put up $5 for every time that you want to take the challenge. And whoever wins the challenge, gets the pot.
Yeah, that might be a thing in the future. We'll see.
You never know.
You never know.
It's everybody likes a good challenge. It's kind of like putting your dollar in for the lottery. You could probably have a better chance if you're really good at growing cannabis to,
yeah,
see it before the AI does, or at least make the same diagnosis that the AI does.
Yeah, I mean, it would get if somebody was just looking through and scouting, and then we were there with the camera, and we took a bunch of pictures individual of leaf or a lot of close-ups enough that the AI could, they would have to be really good. Like the AI would be able to spot out what it sees, some phosphorus or spider mites, thrips, that sort of thing. They get taken down, the app taken down for gambling. We won't do it on the app for sure. That would be like a side thing that you'd have to come in person, and it'd be hush hush, type of deal. Because that would be gambling in a bunch of things at once.
I never even thought of that, but that would be gambling. But you gotta have fun. But maybe at events or something like that, you can have a few plants where you can do something like that, or just have some pictures for people at an event itself.
But the thing with pictures is, that they could be like, oh, well, you trained your AI on this picture, so of course it's going to get it, right? That's the thing. So it almost has to be like a real legit, the university does it and they don't tell us, and that's part of the agreement that they don't tell us, so we don't know. We're not allowed to take pictures in advance, and that would have to be the terms of agreement to be able to actually say, okay, the AI actually knows. Otherwise, if we're doing it, it's like that biasy, right? We're making their own research and that sort of thing. So,
Well, maybe the university would like to make a little bit of extra money, and they could set it up, on their end to have that and have it ran through a contest legitimately, for something like that. You never know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure they might think it's gambling as well, but maybe we just do it not a gambling, but it's the machine, the AI versus the researcher, for example, or something
fundraising.
Like that. Fundraising. Yeah.
Just a different terminology for the same damn thing. Okay?
Yeah, you give 50% to charity, and everybody's happy. Yeah.
Oh, and I think they'd probably actually go for that quite well, because I know a lot of the universities aren't doing as well as they used to do. Are you finding that it's harder to get stuff into the universities to have tested, or anything like that?
For me, since I moved here, I've been working really closely with Niagara College. I'm there on a weekly basis. And I've been there for so long that now we have a good relationship going there. But normally, if you don't, and that was a big thanks to Dr. Av Singh, who made that connection for us. I believe him and Randy knew them, and that sort of thing. So that's how we kind of got in there. But that kind of brings up the point. It's like, if you don't have this network, or you don't really know anybody, you can kind of reach out, and I've done that with a few. Just you call and try to figure out. But most of the times, it's an introduction into that university or research college that gets you access to be able to start these projects.
Well, I know you introduced me to Av, and now Av's one of my hosts on the podcast on Mondays with Leighton Morrison.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm glad I was able to make that happen.
Oh, and believe me, I very much appreciate it, Daniel, because it's been an amazing journey. And
Oh,
and Av's looking for a position. So if you know one,
okay, I didn't know that. All right, I guess that you've spoken to him more recently than I have.
today.
Okay, yeah, then yes, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, I guess the university decided to stop the program that he was running. So he's
that's a
looking for
shame.
something. So maybe if you've got something for him, you could reach out to him
Yeah, I'll have a chat with him. I'm down in the East Coast, so if he's there, I'll bring him up and see and have a chat with him.
and talk to Tom as well. Maybe you can put some of your AI cameras in or his phone in his facility as well, especially with the living soil. Does it work as well with living soil as it does with a hydroponics or anything like that?
Normally living soil, especially if I know Tom is working with apps, so that's dialed in. So chances are they're not really going to run into any problems.
Hmm.
The formula that they use is pretty perfected, right? So that's the thing when we get with organic growing, the thing that we've seen the most is more of the insects. So they usually have thrips or
Hmm.
something going around. It was organic matter, so a lot of the times there are insects in there, fungus gnats as well. But in terms of the hydroponics, that's normally when we see some nutrient deficiencies or something like that. The formula is not quite mixed, and a lot of times, it's that grower when they're doing or they're doing hydroponics, they might have started off buying the 3-part nutrients from a nutrient company, but then they're like, man, they're like 50% upcharging, whatever they upcharge, right? It's quite
Yeah,
a
yeah.
it's quite a lot for some
Ridiculous.
water
Yeah,
and some salt. So then they're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna mix it myself, and that's doable, but that's where we see a lot more of those deficiencies happen. They change their cultivar or they enhance their light, and then one is taking up more nutrients, that sort of thing. So that's kind of normally where we see nutritional deficiencies with hydroponics, and normally with organic soil, it's more of insects, fungus gnats, thrips, as I mentioned, that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I know Tom was on earlier today, showing off his grow and what's going on in that running. He's third cycle with Leighton Morrison's horizontal soil system. Um, and like, holy shit, they're looking beautiful, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. I
Yeah.
saw a post he was using. He went back to HBS where he's testing it out. I'm not sure if that was because of Leighton Morrison, but
It's his lights. He can dial the spectrum so it's more like an HPS. So
okay.
he's still running LEDs.
Oh, it's
He's
still
just
LEDs,
running
but
a spectrum.
gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, that boy is experimenting and experimenting and learning, and holy shit, he's growing some fire and beautiful plants, praying like mad.
Oh, that's
Um,
good. That's good to
yeah,
hear. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, a guy like that. That's and I saw him at the Grow Up back here and last year in Niagara, and he's always he kind of has Av on his team, and he's listening to Av. So
yeah.
yeah, this is great. This is always great to hear that success.
Oh yeah, I know he was at Grow Up in Edmonton.
Okay.
He came down to meet Leighton Morrison and a few of the Dragonfly Earth Medicine was there as well.
Okay. Cool.
Are you coming out to Victoria? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it, but
I don't think so. It's quite far for me over here. I'm waiting. I was waiting for it to come back to Niagara. Now that I'm here, but I don't know. It doesn't seem that it's coming. You know, in a minute. And I thought Randy was from Welland in this area, so
he
I
is.
thought that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that hometown. Come bring it back, but maybe not yet. Maybe next year, 2024.
yeah. It very well could be. I know though they had a hell of a good time in Edmonton. But maybe he'll put on a third show and keep Niagara, Edmonton, and Victoria in the loop.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I just know the Edmonton one. My parents were flying in here, so I wasn't
Oh,
able to
okay.
make it. But yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
it
it.
was a hell of a good show.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So thanks for the update on the Grow Doc app. A very bright future for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, and with that, guys, are you going to be anywhere where people can actually visit you at an event, or just reach out to you through your IG,
Yeah.
or through your website?
Yeah, for I'm usually at pretty much every cannabis event that I can come to in the Toronto area. I was at Cannabis Wiki, the Summer Fair in Toronto. I was there as well, and then I think Hall of Flowers coming up, so that sort of thing. So I'll be there, and if you see me, stop and say hi. I'd love to have a chat with each and every one of you.
Have you heard of the Green Gold Games down in Cambridge?
No, I haven't, but I'll check that out. Green
Yeah, he's
Gold
got
Games in
one.
Cambridge.
Yeah, he's got one coming up in I think in the end of August is his next event.
Okay.
But yeah, check out Green Gold Games at Kenny. Really great guy, and a lot of fun from what I understand. The games were this last one and are going to be even getting better this one.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's looking forward to it then.
Yeah, well, after we end the show, I'll let you know a little bit more about it. But anyway, guys, that's the hour. Daniel, thank you very much for coming back and updating us, and maybe in 6 months we'll have you back on again to see what other plants you've moved into and whether the other advancements you've made. But as for the channel, tomorrow is nothing. It's a day off for me. Thank you. Uh, Wednesday is Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener in Gardens the Untold Story. Ben from Acadia. Oh, geez. I can't remember the rest of the name, but from Acadia Farms is on with Luna. And I believe Alexandria is back, Queen of the Sun Growing. And then Friday, we don't have anybody booked for the Dampier. So if any Dampier farmers are watching, reach out. We need somebody for this Friday for a Dampier episode. Other than that, guys, everybody have a great night, and peace out, everybody.
Peace out.